YouTube? What is going on? Joseph Balmer here, and I'm back in the garage tonight, and I have the Desmog Kit from Red Eye Performance. It is their Red Eye Technical Services. It is the Red Eye Shiny Desmog Kit that we're going to get installed on my Honda Valkyrie. And while we're doing it, in order to do that, I'm going to have to pull the gas tank. I'm also going to have to pull the air box that's underneath the gas tank. I'll take you through all that. The side pods are going to have to come off. We've already got the exhaust off with all the rest of the work we were doing. Went ahead and pulled it off. It's sitting over here in the corner. But then I'm going to take you through, and basically it's going to remove all these lines, the rubber vacuum, or the rubber lines that are in here, and gets rid of the pair valve. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because the Valkyries, especially this bike, is 21 years old. A lot of those rubber lines tend to begin to deteriorate if they start getting leaks. It can cause major performance issues, cause them to run weird. So we're just going to eliminate that. And while we're at it, I also have new O-rings for all of the intake runners. So we're going to go ahead and replace all these intake O-rings while we're in there, because as you can see, hopefully down around the middle runner here, you can see how there's a little bit of stuff that's oozed out from underneath that runner. Front one's kind of the same way. I suspect that the gaskets in those intake runners are leaking, so might as well replace them while we're in here. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. I'm going to take you along with me and kind of show you how to do this, show you what comes in the kit from Red Eye Technical Services. And if you couldn't tell, I just picked this up today at Harbor Freight, paid full price for it. There'll be a video going up on the channel, so check out. I'll put a card up here for the video on the motorcycle lift, unboxing and putting it together, and I'm really actually pleased with it so far. It's only been in here, the bike's only been on it for a couple hours now, and believe it or not, now I do have tie downs, which I got tie downs on either side of it, tying it from the basically the engine guards down to the lift, and it did come with these U-bolts to tie it down. Now I almost would rather have the U-bolts up here where I could tie down around the fork lower. On this bike it's kind of hard because you got your speedometer drive, or your pickup for your speedometer right here, but I'd almost rather be able to tie down here. That way I'm not compressing the forks when I do that. But it's actually up here, and believe it or not, I mean, I'm rocking on it pretty good, and it is nice and steady on that lift. I was a little nervous when I first started raising it up, but it's actually nice and sturdy, so no complaints there. I'm going to get you guys set up out of the way and probably put you in a time lapse while we tear the tank off, because it's just one bolt here, one bolt up in the front to remove the tank. Pardon a little bit of thunder, we got rain moving through outside. And then of course the fuel line, so I'll probably have to take this off so I get to the fuel lines at the petcock and remove all that. But we're going to get the tank lifted off, and then I will bring you back and walk you through the rest. So while you're watching me remove the tank at really high speed, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you have, make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notifications on all these videos when I post them. If you know somebody's got a Valkyrie, share these with your friends, please. So here we go. I'm going to get you the time lapse, and I'm going to start taking this sucker apart. This is what comes in the Shiny Desmog Kit. You get your instruction sheet. You get 4 hold downs for 4 of the plugs. You get the 4 plugs. You get Teflon, basically a Teflon bushing, and a Viton GF O-ring. These go with the plugs. You get 2 vacuum caps, so they're going to plug off the vacuum ports on the carburetors that the vacuum line to the paravalve actuator goes to. You get some new bolts for the hold downs on the caps, as well as these 2 plug off the pair line that is underneath the head. You get the 2 gaskets for the 2 graphite gaskets for these plates under the head. You get some spacers, and you also get a large vacuum plug for the line from the paravalve that goes up to the bottom of the air box. And then you get these little, basically Teflon snubbers and some shims in the event that you need them. And the snubbers go in the holes on these to push down on the tops of the plugs. So, now I've got the air box removed. In the process of doing that, I also removed the petcock, basically the handle for the petcock, and the chrome piece here. I also removed the chrome piece on the opposite side where the ignition switch goes. That way I could access my fuel lines, because I don't know if you can see here, there's a vacuum line and your main fuel feed line from the petcock, and a vent line from the tank, and then you also have on the interstates the plug-in for the fuel level sender. And then up here, if I can get you in the right spot, hopefully you can see, you have 1, 2, 3 lines. This is the crank vent line back here in the back. Comes from the crank vent down here. You also have the drain line from the air box, and then this line feeds into the paravalve. Now, I'll take the camera out of the little rig here for just a second and show you this. Right here is the vacuum actuator for the paravalve, and then the reed valves are in these cases. There's one case right there. There's another case right over here. Now it's going to be kind of hard to see even with a light. Maybe I get this light laid in here just right. But on the back side of the paravalve, right down there, directly under this carburetor, right down there, there's one there, and there's one further up that's harder to see. And then there's 2 matching ones on the other side over here. Those we're going to have to cut, because those come out. There's actually 3. I take that back. There's 3 on each side. There's one right here as well. These run into the pair lines that run around under the head. So, first thing I'm going to do is get in here, and you can see my drain line from the bowl drain on this carburetor. It's kind of deteriorated and broken. That's something that'll have to be addressed. But in order to do this, the next thing I need to do is go ahead and remove this intake runner and this intake runner, the front and rear on both sides. We're going to leave the center ones in for right now to support the carburetors. Now, you do want to, on the front intake runner right here, you want to save that bolt, because that bolt, they supply you with a replacement, but these bolts, these chrome ones, you can reuse, since they are nice shiny chrome. You can definitely reuse these. Actually, I take that back. That's the one you want to save to reuse. That one will be reused. So, that being said, we're going to go ahead and get these 2 off on both sides, and then we'll dive in a little farther. Just me a Phillips screwdriver right there. That'll work. Okay. Now, for any of you that are wondering, this wire here is just the auxiliary cable for my stereo. It allows me to plug my phone into the stereo. They do, these Valkyries, the interstates with the stereos, do have an auxiliary jack back in here underneath all this mess of communications wiring. So that's what that's plugged into. We've got a vacuum line here on the back. And this vacuum line, we got to be real careful with this one, make sure it gets reattached. This vacuum line runs up to the fuel petcock. That's what turns your fuel on and off when you start the bike. Okay, just pry up gently on it to make sure she's loose, and then if you're gentle, you can get in there with a screwdriver and kind of push them off. Vacuum, rubber lines tend to act like Chinese handcuffs. Oh, you just got to pull hard enough. And then you can see how flattened out that O-ring is. That's why I have new O-rings for that. Now, I want to make sure we don't get any dirt down in the intake runners. Now, this little guy, pull him out. Set him off to the side for the moment. Oh, we can find it. See, these are aluminum. There we go. Ouch. There she comes. Come on, baby. Whoa. With some force. And then you got your vacuum lines back here for syncing the carburetors. Shed some light on this situation.
Smart one.
Well, you're trying to get these things out. They get wedged in there. And
That's fine. I'll just finish it.
I know. I'm about to beat you. Stab you with a screwdriver. Yeah, but
Make it on the bike. That gives me plenty of room. Why don't you throw it at me and then? Yeah.
pull a Crocodile Dundee with the screwdriver. Now, we've got get right underneath it here and try and lift up on this line and see if we can't gently separate it from the head. Okay, now that it's separated from the head, well hell, that just pulls right off. You can see there's quite a bit of carbon buildup. There's more down in there. We're going to have to clean that out. Now, these we're not keeping. Okay, so that one is the easiest one to get to. The one up here on the front, there's a hold down right down here that is buried underneath the rubber for the radiator and everything else. And it's going to be less than fun to get to that one. And then the other one runs down underneath the head up here, and that line we're going to have to cut. That metal line has to be cut on this side. So we'll go to the other side. We'll pop the ones we can get off over here from the top. So first we need to remove that, which is why I walked over to the other side. That's just a 10 millimeter for that hold down. And that hold down is made onto that pair valve line. So now Now, of course, that light has died. So we're going to stick this one down here where it'll be promptly in our way. But hopefully I'll still get you guys a decent shot. Right up here, those two Allens we need to remove to get that off. And, so it's a 5mm, and this is where it was necessary to remove the exhaust, because as you can see, I'm right up in here next to that exhaust port, and that one would be almost impossible to get out with the exhaust still in place. I'm going to have to find probably a 5mm Allen wrench to get this other side loose. Oh, I forgot about that. I already had that bolt loose. So, that'll make life easy. Now, okay guys, so I don't know at what point my camera battery died, but I removed the feed pipe that runs, the air feed pipe that runs down here. That's two 5mm Allens, and then it takes some wiggling to get it off. Then I can remove this air feed pipe. This air feed pipe's supposed to come out next, and I'm not supposed to have to remove the crash bar to do it, but it is running into the crash bar. So I may have to some degree, remove this crash bar. Let me see if I can find a way to resecure the bike, and then we'll deal with the crash bar on this side. Alright guys, so I went ahead and pulled the crash bars. It's a couple of 12mm bolts. It's fairly easy, but I can guarantee you 110% on the other side. See, now that comes right out. It's going to make my life substantially easier, because getting to the ones on the opposite side is going to be really difficult with the engine guards, crash bars, whatever you want to call them on there still. The only downside is you almost need two people to do it, because as I was taking them off, I should have taken this side off first and then the opposite side, and I didn't. And when I got this side off, the other side dropped and my horn disappeared. I have no clue. Took off across the garage and I have no clue where it took off to. So I'll have to track it down. Okay, so now we've got the three on this side removed. We're going to finish up with the three on the other side. I'm going to need that. Also going to need my 10mm wrench. And I believe my 10mm socket's already over there. So over here, this front one is going to be difficult to see at best. There's the hold down. The front plug for number one is right there, and that's the hold down for it. So like I said, it's sitting directly under where this crash bar bolted up. So there was just, the instructions say that they can stay on there. That's 12. But I don't even see how that is going to be feasible. The time to remove the crash bar is going to save me a heck of a lot of time of fighting, trying to get these guys in and out. And I did resecure the bike. I got one strap down here. I have one on the frame back here on the opposite side. Here's where it gets tricky. That hold down is attached to this line. That line attaches to right down here, and we're going to have to cut it here because it runs behind the timing set. And the only other way to get it out is to remove the timing gears, or the timing sprockets and belt and the whole 9 yards. So we're going to go ahead and unbolt it. And it's loose. So now we need to get up in here as far up as we can and cut that off. So, in order to do that, if I can weasel these up in there, we're going to clip it with these. If I can. If not, okay, so I nicked it with a pair of diagonal cutters, was able to rip it. And now let's go up top and see if we can bring it up and out-ish. I may have to cut it again, I don't know. So, let's make my life easy here. I was hoping didn't quite cut through it. They smashed it flat or that crap. Okay, so now I've got to get these wires off the top of it right here, and I should be able to, hopefully, there's plenty of room behind the timing cover. It's just with the wiring harnesses and everything else here, trying to weasel this bad boy out. There we go. Piece of gravel that was stuck down there. And then all we have left, oh, there's our other chunk of it, is the front one right here. So if I get under that, pop it out, pull back, and that's out. Bam. Okay, now need to go through very gently, clean the carbon out of the bottom of these holes. Get them all cleaned up because you need the new plugs to be able to seat all the way down into the hole. So we're going to get the carbon cleaned out of the front and the back on both sides. The bottom one we'll get the gasket scraped off on down here. There we go. Get her all scraped off. That way it's nice and flat and ready for the new gasket. I'll clean the carbon up, and then we'll come back in just a second and get our plugs put back in, our new plugs. Okay guys, so before we go and put all our plugs in, we're going to go ahead and remove the rest of the pair valve, or the pair valves and the actuator here. So we can unplug with any luck. These hoses are a little stiff. 21-year-old vacuum lines. There we go. That one goes to the carburetor, let's see, goes to 3 and 4 carburetors. The intakes for those is where those lines go, so those will be removed and capped. Then we're going to back this clamp off. And there's another one down here at the pair valve if we can get to it reasonably easily. our other, don't knock any of our vacuum lines that we need to keep. There we go. Get that one up out of the way. Get our dangling microphone wire out of the way. That doesn't need to be in our shot. And then we can try and do the same over here on the other side, or at least get this top one off. A lot of times you can just grab these lines with a pair of pliers and give them a little twist, and that'll help them pull off. There we go. Now maybe I can wiggle that one off. Coming up. If I can shove this one back. Now I should get this wire out of the way. Be able to lift the pair valve out, because it's just on this mount here, or the actuator, excuse me. I keep saying pair valve, this is the actuator. So get a number 3 Phillips is what this one is, and it's perfect. Break those screws loose. And then we can, in theory, if I get a hold of it, let me get to that side. Oh, I didn't pull that clamp. That's what the problem's going to be. Okay, so we got those two loose. Now we'll go ahead and remove the two. In each reed valve there's two 10mm bolts that hold it down. We'll get those out of the way. That one's going to be a pain, because it's right underneath of the brace that holds our carburetor rack together. He's out now. So now I should be able to get the bolts out, so I don't drop them down anywhere I don't want them to go. And then that other one's still in there, so I'm going to be careful. Bolts out. We'll set them off to the side so we don't mix them up with anything else. And then we can pull those out. I do believe those are blind holes, so we don't have to put anything back in there to plug them. And that is the reed valve, or one of them. And there's the other reed valve. Got those out. Now I can remove, or will remove, probably could have already done it, our vacuum line. Okay, there's that side. There's the other side. Boy, that was in rough shape. Wouldn't be shocked if that one had been leaking. I think there's a chunk of it still on the carburetor. Now we've got the reed valve, pair valves out. We've got the actuator out. We have everything removed that we need to remove. Now we can actually start putting the clean everything up and start putting the plugs in. So I'm going to call it a night, I think, for tonight, and then we'll be back tomorrow and we'll start putting all our we'll get all the carbon down in these holes cleaned out, and we'll start putting our plugs and caps and everything back on. Double check all our vacuum lines. This vacuum line I'm probably going to go ahead and replace because this one runs up to the fuel petcock, so it would be good while we've got this apart, just go ahead and replace that. That way that vacuum line, I don't have to, it's not real soft anymore, and I don't want to have to worry about it breaking or cracking on the road, because if you do, you'll lose your fuel flow to your petcock, so we don't want to do that. And then once we get that taken care of, we'll start putting everything back together again. So we'll see you tomorrow.